Hello and welcome back to True Crime Guys. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
We're back in studio.
That's right.
Ready to talk some murder. Crazy weather. The windiest
so
day.
Windy.
It was the windiest day in 5 years
Holy
yesterday
shit.
in Las Vegas.
84 mile per hour winds.
There was a gust of 84 in a certain part, but
Four semis blew over.
It was pretty like sustained 60 to 70 mile an hour winds throughout the valley though.
Yeah, it was intense.
Yeah.
I was walking to get my kids at the bus stop, and I thought my eyes were getting sandblasted.
It was like the movie Twister. Basically, I saw a cow fly by at one point.
Yeah. Yep.
You want to get to some shout outs and
Yeah.
let's talk some iTunes reviews. We got a bunch of iTunes reviews this week. We want to
my favorite part.
We're going to get through these quickly as possible, but also give credit to everyone that took the time to do this because it helps a lot. So we'll start out with GD Sibo from the United States. Awesome podcast. My sister introduced me to this, and I was hooked from the first episode. She's all caught up and loves our giggle.
Oh, cool. Well,
Yep.
good. We'll keep it because we can't help it. At least I can't.
Right.
We're taking turns this week. Lauren's letting me do some.
And I typed them up so I don't
shout-outs,
have to look at Mike's terrible handwriting.
Right. That's not true. If you're just listening, that's an inside joke. I actually have decent handwriting.
Garbage.
All right. TN Daydreamer from the United States says, outstanding. I have binged and I'm finally caught up. Love that you guys keep it light amidst all the ugliness. And I love listening to y'all during my work hours while I'm working out at the gym. Keep up the great work.
We keep getting gym posts. I think there's like 3 or 4 different people that posted pics wearing headphones at the gym, listening to our show and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
That's I guess, I mean, whatever keeps you distracted. I guess it does kind of help.
Like imagine you're either running from a killer or you're getting stronger to fight off a killer.
When I go to the gym or working out, like I need some music though. I need something intense.
Yeah.
I need like Chevelle or something.
Chevelle.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Yeah. Something heavy.
Slayer.
Yeah.
Raining Blood.
Something that's like, fuck these weights.
Right. Stab these weights. Let's see. Kilcher 25 from the U.S. I recommend this podcast for people interested in true crime. Likes the research and the detail, and it says our voices are not annoying.
Oh.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Madam Jordan of the U.S. and Texas? Oh, she's driving back for Texas. Okay. She said, so here I am stuck in Mississippi Welcome Center, awaiting out the rain with my dog and a moving truck on my way to Texas from Georgia. And it's made many hours I've spent driving back and forth to Texas over the past few months just fly by.
That's pretty awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I wish I'd known about podcasts when I was traveling.
Yeah, so the next one, this one's interesting. We got a 1-star review. First one. We got our first 1-star.
Yes,
Michael's so excited.
1-star review.
And it was so stupid.
do it.
I'm sorry. It's like if you're going to give us criticism, that's one thing, but this is just a stupid review. It says, did they really just approve of Alex Jones? No thanks. 1 star. Just the mere mention of Alex Jones gave us a 1-star review. Imagine the hate that guy must get. And I don't remember, I don't remember like approving of him.
I don't either.
I don't remember pumping out Infowars.com. You might want to remove the sticker from your car though.
Oh, really?
The Infowars sticker needs to go, bro.
Scratch it off.
Yeah, someone's going to key your car. So screw you, L Swan.
Screw you if you don't want to hear the truth. No,
if you want to give us a 1-star because we suck and you have some like actual real stuff to say about why we're not good, but just because we mentioned like just in 10 seconds mentioned Alex Jones, come on.
Yeah, come on,
You're being
L-Swan.
silly.
You're being harsh too.
You're being silly, L
All
Swan.
right. The next person was like from Nina, 1977. She said, love these guys. Great podcast.
Thank you, Nina.
Thanks.
Heil Geen. I hope it's actually
Heil
Heil Geen.
Geen.
Heil Ed Geen, I guess. I don't know. Great show. Another good true crime show that's easy to listen to and entertaining. Thank you.
All right. We got John from Houston. He said, detailed and well-researched show. A recommended must listen. Keep up the great work, true crime guys.
Jen Speederson.
You got it.
From the UK and Great Britain. See, this one has some good criticism. I like this review.
I like this.
Granted, she gave us 5 stars, so we're happy about that too. But
Yeah.
I do like the podcast, but the last episode took 16 minutes and 40 seconds before the actual content started. And the hosts remind me of Beavis and Butthead. I can't stop now. Boobs. Little refining, and you've got it. Now we're just gonna go more views from Beavis and Butthead.
Well, we can't promise on the refining. Randy Staton from the U.S. said, I would like to say that as a former criminal, this one's kind of odd, that you are not all dumb and stupid. Well, not every day. I was charged numerous times, 72 hours.
And they kick you loose.
And they kick you loose. I enjoy your podcast because you guys seem to get along very well. You are unpretentious and inject a little levity. This is important because the subject can be depressing.
Yeah. This episode this week's can be very depressing, just letting you know now.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about more of that later.
Yeah. We got one from Sweden. Ostrakit. Ostrakit.
Oh, perfect
Kicked.
pronunciation.
Tumming up, which I guess is thumbs up. Informative, and they love it. So thank you very much, Ostragat.
Nice. Queerty you 45. Queerty you ipe. I don't know. They said your commentary is. It says my new favorite. Your commentary is witty and hysterical. I love how you guys crack at your own jokes, and your laughs are contagious.
Thank you.
Well, who else is gonna laugh at them?
Yeah, and Pothead Rod left us a nice 5-star review. Thank you very much. It's he said basically that we're not too exploitive or sensationalist.
But we're not too casual or uninformed either.
Yeah, we're right in the sweet spot, he says.
Yeah,
so thank you
cool.
very much.
All right, and then our Wow Ninja from the U.S. said,
Awesome name.
Our Wow Ninja.
Our Wow Ninja.
I like it. Said so good. I love the podcast. I know you guys get a lot of requests, but with your attention to detail, I would love to hear you gents cover John Wayne Gacy. So keep up the awesome work.
I want to do John Wayne.
Yeah,
Gacy.
he's definitely on the list.
The clown killer.
Yeah, for sure.
He was very fascinating.
Right.
He's on there. He'll be a 2-parter at some point, I'm sure. Michelle Ellis, 88. My boyfriend and I love listening to your podcast.
I think it's Michelle Elise.
Michelle Elise?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It is. Michelle Elise, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry to you and your boyfriend.
All right. And then Moiseli from
Moiseli.
France. Moiseli.
Moiseli. Achaoui.
I bet I nailed that pronunciation.
Yeah.
From Province, France. She said, I love your podcast. Keep the giggles.
Oui. Thank you.
We will.
That's awesome. You guys, what else you
We
guys?
got sticker holders?
Got some sticker holders.
Some new creepers.
You can get your stickers on truecrimeguys.com at the top. Stickers, donate whatever you want. We'll send you some stickers. We still have a bunch left.
Yes, absolutely. Jenny from Bixby, Oklahoma. Brittany from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Becca from the UK. And Rebecca from Red City, California.
Thank you guys. Looking forward to seeing some pics of you guys with your stickers.
Yeah, hopefully you should get those soon, or if you don't already have them. We also got some just special mentions / Facebook mentions. Kyle P. from Canada just started listening this week. He said he's a straight born creeper already.
Right out the womb.
Already professing
Creeping
to be
out the
creeping.
womb, bro.
That's right. And then John S. from Lakewood, California, he hit me up. And he's the one that said that we sound like a beaver. We sound like how
okay.
Beaver.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he hit me up, and I'm going to send him some stickers out there. But he said he shares the word with everyone at Home Run Dog Park in Lakewood, California. He spreads the word.
That's kind of random, man.
That's random.
It's like, oh, what do you got? You got a Rhodesian Ridgeback? Oh, cool. Check out True Crime Guys podcast.
Guys.
How does that work? I don't understand. That's a beautiful shepherd, bro. You know they
use them in police. You know what the police study crimes. Have you seen True Crime Guys?
Hitler had a German shepherd. You know what else is dark? The True Crime Guys podcast. I don't know.
All right. We also got Mike Wooten. He's a big fan from the UK. He suggested Claudia Lawrence. She's a missing person.
I talked to him a little bit on Twitter. I had a nice little conversation with him. So, glad to get you through your night shift, man. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. So what do you got here?
We got some new friends, man. We got some people that are supporting the show. A big company you may know by the name of Kicker Audio.
What? Never
They have a little website called kicker.com.
Nice.
Living Loud. They've been around since 1973. Everyone's heard of Kicker. You know, they've got crazy audio equipment. They've got car audio, subwoofers, amplifiers, speakers. They got headphones. They sent us. We are now great friends now because they sent us 4 sets of badass headphones.
They are. We're using them right now.
We are using
They're
them
so
right
comfy.
now.
They're like pillows on each side of my head.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is we only we're 2 people, so we can only use 2 of these headphones. And
what are we gonna do with the other 2, Lauren?
Well, we talked about it a little bit on Twitter this week and Instagram and stuff. We put up we're doing a giveaway until May 1st. So if you want a pair of these headphones, how's this going to work, Michael? Basically, you send something at us, hashtag it Creeper Giveaway, and it's really up to you what you want to do. Like I imagine just being creative will help. Like if you want to draw like a picture of us with the creep van, or you want to, or if you have some merch that you bought from us, like you have a creep sticker and you did something cool with it.
Yeah.
You know, we don't recommend you doing anything illegal, but if you did, that would score extra points.
That would.
For sure.
We won't turn you in.
Like my cousin Snapchatted me and she's like, there was this creep van parked on the side of her house. And she's like, I thought about putting a sticker on. I'm like, well, that would have got you some headphones.
That would have got you some.
But you'd have to live with
you'd
have to live with the repercussions. Either if you get arrested or if you get snatched up and thrown into that creep van, that's on you. But you could win headphones.
Exactly. And these headphones are actually better quality than what we originally thought.
Oh, they're
so
sick.
Lauren, like, what's the retail on these? Like, they're
like $130 if you go to the website, which they're worth every penny. Trust me, because
they're freaking awesome.
We've been listening with these things all week, and I'd put them up there with like Beats, honestly, or possibly better than Beats.
They're Bluetooth
For the price,
capabilities
you can't beat
as
'em.
well.
Yeah, they're called Tabor headphones.
Yeah.
They're Bluetooth compatible, but they also have the auxiliary cord you can run to whatever.
Right. So they
They're
can
rad.
be passive or active, whatever. And they also have volume control on the side.
Yeah,
They're incredible.
they're badass. So I mean, but you can listen to us through so many ways through Kicker Audio too. If you go to kicker.com, they've got car speakers, subwoofers. They've got a variety of indoor and outdoor personal Bluetooth speakers. They've got an outdoor one called the Bullfrog that you could like take to the beach. It's weatherproof. It's
Nice.
badass.
That's a cool name too.
Yeah, the Bullfrog.
Yeah.
That's rad. So far, the hashtag Creeper giveaway, we've already gotten a bunch of pics sent to us. My favorite so far is at Gerard Henson. He sent an Instagram picture of us, of him laying on a morgue slab. I would never, I tell you right now, I'm not doing that.
No.
I wouldn't. Yeah. So far for me, he's up there. And then also Michaela's mom sent me a video that had me laughing. She hashtagged it, Creeper giveaway. And it was basically a video of her spying on her German neighbor juggling in his living room.
I think it was in his kitchen.
No, it was in his living room.
Oh,
and I
was
talked about how I juggle in my kitchen a lot.
Oh, okay. I knew somebody said something
So
about
it's a
kitchen.
video of her out her window into his window, him juggling in there. She
Yeah.
sent us that hashtag to Creeper giveaway. So that's what I mean by being creative.
Yeah.
And you have a whole month to do this. All the
Yep.
whole month of April, you can send us these photos on Twitter, Instagram. You can even just direct send it to Facebook if you want to Michael.
Yeah, sure.
However you can get it to us, you'll be in the running, and we're going to pick 2 of the best photos, and you're going to get these badass headphones sent your way
Oh, yeah.
come May. So
Yeah.
look forward to that.
Get in on that.
We
guys.
also have another new friend, beangenius.com.
Ooh, sounds
The
cool.
reason we picked these 2 badass companies is because odds are right now, if you're listening to our show, you're going to be listening with headphones.
Yep.
And I tell you right now, I bet you a vast majority, if you're listening to this right now, you're probably drinking coffee, aren't you?
Yep, you are.
beangenius.com.
Why not get coffee tailored to you?
Exactly. They have a smart subscription and discovery service. Basically, they use a machine learning algorithm along with customer feedback to actually learn individual taste preferences and then selects coffee specifically for each customer's unique palate. So you go on their website and you take their palate profiler and it pairs you up with a new coffee that you will love based on your feedback. So what they're gonna do is after you take the profiler, they're gonna send you 3 coffee tasters and they're gonna be unlabeled and you're gonna pick which one you like and then you're gonna send that feedback to them. And that's their service, but they also just have a bunch of different coffee on their website, and it's all to the highest standards.
Oh, yeah, they take like the top 1% of all coffees.
Yeah. So
Like,
every
they're
coffee,
very picky.
every coffee in the subscription we're talking about is blind cupped and is only accepted if it gets 85 plus points out of 100. They represent and sell roasted coffee from some of the best independent coffee roasters in the country. And the beauty is here, if you're a creeper and you're listening to this podcast and you're a fan, go to beangenius.com. Creeper will get you 10% off any purchases on their website, including marketplace coffees.
Yep, so just enter that code at checkout, Creeper.
beangenius.com.
That's
I may not be a genius, but I do love coffee. And Being Genius is the coffee for me.
Boom.
And it can be for you. Go to beanggenius.com.
All right.
Are you all ready to get in this episode? We didn't make it to 16 minutes. We're at 13 minutes, Michael. We
Boom.
can start pegging it down a little bit each week.
That's
So,
right. We're working on it.
I just want to, like we mentioned a little bit, disclaimer, this is a very depressing episode.
Yeah, we weren't
But
exactly
it's a serious topic. I mean, we're
ourselves,
talking mental
totally.
health here.
I mean, we were still us on this show, but it got to us a little bit. It was hard to be funny.
Yeah, because
kids are
you just feel
getting
for
killed.
this. You feel for everybody in this whole story. It's not. It doesn't feel like there's a demon in this story aside from just this kid's inner demons, you know. But we didn't think he was. We didn't hate him in the end.
No.
And it was just. We'll get into it.
All right.
Here we go.
Police Department, today's date is Thursday, May 21st, 1998. The time is at 9:51 a.m. This will be a taped conversation with the last name of Kinkle, K-I-N-K-E-L, first of Kipland, K-I-P-L-A-N-D, middle of Philip, P-H-I-L-I-P, date of birth 8/30 of 82. You think that you were too young for a gun?
Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with me. My head just doesn't work right.
Why doesn't it work right?
I don't know. I can't get...
Or yesterday? or when you purchased it yesterday, did you know that was the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do?
I knew it was the wrong thing.
You knew it was the wrong thing to do?
Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't have any intent yesterday, or at least that's what you told me yesterday, of hurting anybody. Is that correct?
Right. I just want to die.
I know.
Oh, God. God damn these voices inside my head!
All right, thanks. Yep. Settle down. Settle down. It's all right. It's all right. Just settle down. Okay? All right, just settle down.
All right, so our story this week, it was a submission from a listener on Twitter, @Turender, suggested the case of Kipland Kinkel.
Oh, yes.
This was a school shooter. There's a lot to talk about here because in the late 90s, I would say from about 96 to 99,
Yeah.
it was just this rash of school shootings, and it's like, what started this? Where did it come
Right.
about? There's a lot of...
And we have our speculations about
We do.
what started it.
And we'll get into it, but I don't want to give away too much about the actual event itself. We tend to do that, break down what happened, and let's just get into Kip, get into his life, and then we'll work our way towards it, not spoil the story.
Okay.
All right, so Kipland Philip Kinkel was born August 30th, 1982. He's now 34 years old. He was born in Springfield, Oregon, which is basically right outside of Eugene.
Yep.
His parents were, well, actually, I want to mention real quick that he was born on the same day. I do this every time now.
Yeah.
It's just becoming a ritual.
Right.
His birthday, he shares a birthday with Warren Buffett and Cameron Diaz.
Of course he does.
Good company there.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett, one of the richest dudes
Yeah.
ever, and then Cameron Diaz, good-looking A-class celebrity.
There you go. What could go wrong here?
He was the second child of William Bill Kinkle. Everybody called him Bill, so we're just going to go with Bill, but
Yeah.
his real name is William Kinkle, and his mother was Faith Saransky. They were both Spanish teachers.
What are the chances? Maybe they met in Spanish college.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
I wish I could speak
'Cause
Spanish
that's a
because then
thing.
I would reenact their meeting, but
Oh, would you?
I would.
Hola.
but- Hola. Here it is. You be her.
¿Cómo estás?
No, you be her. I'll be him.
Oh, why do I gotta be her?
Just hold on,
All right.
because you're
Hola.
because you're my bitch.
Oh, no.
Okay, here we go. Here's the meeting. They walk in. Hola.
Shut the hell up.
What the hell did you just become? Okay, so let's get back to it. We're already going off the rails here.
All right.
All right, so his parents are William Kinkle and his mother is Faith Saransky. Faith taught at Springfield High School, obviously Spanish teacher, and William taught at Thurston High and Lane Community College as a Spanish teacher.
Oh.
He had an older sister named Kristen. She was 6 years older than him.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a gap.
I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, I think that's a good, if you're going to have two kids, you got
6
the older
years.
sister that can take care of the younger brother. And then she did take upon that role quite a bit.
Yeah, I guess so.
They lived in the woods. They had a beautiful A-frame house. And
Oh, it's
was
gorgeous.
Just, oh, man. I would love to live where,
Yeah, it's
where
like
he
a-
grew up is.
It's like a mountain escape.
It's ideal. It's like somewhere I picture retiring someday.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yep.
we live in Vegas, and like an escape for here is Utah, like up in the mountains, like the Cedar Mountains and stuff. There's a lot of
Right,
people that have
right.
cabins up there. That's what it looked like to me.
Yep.
Beautiful. But I mean, if you're a kid growing up there, there's not a lot of activity with friends and stuff that you can be
True. And it's hard to,
directly next to you. Like when I was a kid, just on the side of my parents' house, I had like 15 friends skateboarding, you know, just
Yeah.
in the neighborhood. Like that neighborhood vibe is,
Right,
I
right.
think, crucial for development.
yeah. Some people.
Just being able to run out. I'm saying being able to run outside your front door and go hang out with friends. Like I don't think
Yeah.
he had that available to him.
No, and he also took this beautiful oasis for granted, I think,
Well,
because he grew up
he's
there.
a kid. I
you
mean,
know. Well, I mean, I know. I'm just saying it's easy to. It's
Yeah.
easy to be
Oh,
in his
yeah.
situation, you know. 'Cause
most kids they get to go camping twice a year and go to a place like where he lives every day. So I know what you're
Yeah,
saying. It's like
exactly.
it takes it for granted. Yeah.
Right.
The parents were very. I wouldn't say they wouldn't pressure the kids, but they expected. They expected, you know, academic
I mean,
achievements from their kids.
I think all in all, they
They
kind
were
of
teachers.
they had a great outlook on parenting. Like to me, they seemed like great parents.
They
I
did.
mean, they were educated. They created a beautiful home for their kids to grow up in. They let them do whatever they wanted as far as like activities and, clubs and whatever they wanted to be participated
supportive.
in. They were supportive in everything.
Yeah. They spent a sabbatical year in Spain when Kip was 6 years old, and he was forced to attend a Spanish-speaking kindergarten where he struggled. I mean, it just didn't work out. We'll get into it. Basically, he's got like learning disabilities. He's dyslexic. And one thing that would bother him a lot, and his sister later admitted to, is the fact that his parents and Kristen, his sister, would be speaking Spanish a lot around him, and he didn't know what
that'd
that
be
was
frustrating as hell.
It would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
They have this connection. She has this connection with her parents that he can't have because he just
and that's kind of a common theme throughout his life, as you'll see. He's constantly trying to
falling
keep up.
behind
He's
in
constantly
everything.
struggling in everything he tries to do.
Back in Oregon, his parents decided to hold him back in first grade, which was actually recommended by his teachers because he wasn't able to keep up, and they said he wasn't emotionally and physically mature enough, or he wasn't on par maturity wise with the other kids. Obviously, this would be a frustrating thing to be held back, and all your friends move on. Right. It's embarrassing, and it's
it's also, I think a lot of this had to do. I mean, I don't know, I'm just speculating here. I think some of it had to do with his parents being older when he was born.
Oh, 100%.
I think you see that a lot, especially because his parents
There's
were
a big age gap.
His parents were almost like in their 50s.
They were by the time he's a teenager, they're in their mid 50s already.
Yeah, his dad's almost 60.
So when he's 6, his parents are in their mid 40s, I would say.
Yeah,
mid to late 40s.
So they basically had him 40 years old.
Right.
Around 40.
And then there's you, who's got 3 kids, and you're 27, right? 26.
Yeah.
So I mean, just look at the difference. By the time your kids are Kip's age, when we're talking about that, you've already got like a 7-year-old or something.
My oldest daughter's 9.
9, yeah, and you're 20. So you're able to relate a lot more. You're still a kid yourself.
Right. Exactly.
So he ends up being put in special education classes going into 2nd grade. Mm-hmm. Because he's mixing up. Basically, he's diagnosed with dyslexia. He's mixing up letters and numbers. It's hard for him to comprehend what he's reading. Just struggling. And not only is he struggling academically, but he's just also not really a coordinated kid. And then his sister seems to have everything. His sister excels in Spanish. She excels in school. I believe she was a cheerleader. She was doing gymnastics. Yeah. And so there's this home video. We watched a documentary on Kip, and and in the documentary they showed some home video.
Them at the park.
Yeah, so she's the whole family at the park.
She's like a freaking ninja.
She's doing back handsprings all the way down the park, literally like 20 of them in a row. Yeah. And there's Kip who can't catch a frisbee. Yeah. He tries to throw the frisbee back to his dad, and it goes over his head, and he's trying to do like handstands and falling on his face, and he's just.
And you kind of start seeing that anger though come out at a young age. You could tell it's
frustrating.
Genuinely
seemed
frustrating
like life
him.
In general, from the time he was born, was just one big frustration to him.
Yeah, he was not having fun that day. No. And you can tell. It's like he's out there, and it's
because even when your parents are trying to like include you and be supportive of you, you can tell that you could hear it on the dad's voice. He was impressed and like proud of his daughter for what she was capable of doing. Like when she's doing those 20 back handsprings, her dad's like wowed by it. He's like, and she's still going, And then there's Kip, and he's like falling on his face, and dad's like, "Oh, keep going, buddy." It's like,
Well, I mean, it's only human nature. I mean, I think
it is.
When your kids do something
that wows you.
Yeah, but when they do something like just ordinary, you're like, "Oh, good job," because you want to encourage them. You want them to do that wow. But when they really do that, you can't. It's hard to withhold your excitement because you're like, "Oh shit," that's my kid. Right. It just did that. Yeah. It's like it's hard to restrain yourself as far as that goes. It's a tough part of parenting, and most kids don't take it quite as hard as Kip did, but we'll get to that.
Well, when he's about 12 or 13, his sister ends up going off to college. It only made things tougher for him because his sister was sort of a buffer. We talked about the age gap between the parents and Kip, and his sister would kind of she acted as like a mediator between the parents and the kid to like help.
I can see that.
To help basically remind her parents that look, you don't be so hard on Kip. He's not like your Spanish students. He's struggling. He's trying, but he's just not comprehending this stuff.
Right.
As when the parents they seem to have excelled in academics, and it runs down the lines a little bit into their daughter, and so they must have been frustrated, just thinking like he's not trying. I think a lot of parents get that mixed up, that some kids they really are trying, but things just don't. Things are harder for them.
And I think a lot of older parents they hold their kids to a higher standard because they've done so much preparation, and they've done so much studying and preparing for this child that when it gets there, they feel like they've got everything figured out by then.
Yeah.
So when this child doesn't succeed, they're like, what's going on?
We've given you
We're
everything
giving
you
you
need.
everything you need.
Right.
Why are you not succeeding?
Yeah. It's like we've drawn a map for you to success and you're not taking it.
Right.
Type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so the conflicts, he starts having conflicts with his father, Bill, and he's getting messed with by kids in middle school during this time. He convinces his parents to enroll him in karate class. And his parents, from what we can tell, as far as what his sister Kristen says, because she's still around today and has done interviews and talks about what it was like growing up, and that's where we get a lot of this information from. And according to her, her parents were very against violence in every fashion, and so they really didn't want to enroll him in karate. It was something that they were really reluctant to do, but they wanted Kip to find something that he could be passionate about. They wanted him to find his outlet, because he seemed really, like we said, frustrated with everything, and he needed something he could achieve in and like impress people with.
Right. I found that part of the story like very ironic, because they're all like, because she went on to say, not only were they against violence, they were against anything that pertained to violence. Like Kip wasn't allowed to have toy soldiers or toy guns, Nerf guns, or nothing like that. Nothing.
What do you think about this?
So,
because I've noticed a trend. And it's not 100% of the time. We generalize a lot on this show, but I've noticed a trend with like really strict Mormon families. A lot of times they have that kid that backlashes and they end up getting a ton of tattoos. And the second they turn 18, not that there's anything wrong with tattoos, but I'm just saying it's against the family's morals.
Right.
They do a bunch of stuff that's against their family's morals. The second they get the opportunity, the second they get out of their parents' house, it's almost like they go above and beyond what they would have if they've been allowed to have this stuff when they were younger.
Yeah, it's like a forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
And see, like later on, his parents had said, they kind of started to give into this because they didn't want things to become a forbidden fruit. But I think at that point it's too late.
Yeah, you've already
He's
made
already
it that,
a teenager.
and now you're giving him the forbidden fruit.
You've made it a forbidden fruit his whole life.
Right.
Like his whole life, he was not allowed to talk about violence, act, pretend like he's fighting, play cops and robbers.
That
whatever
shit's
the
cool
shit
when you're a
kids
kid.
do.
When you're a little boy, that shit's just what we're interested in.
You need to wrestle in the yard or fucking throw rocks at each other, whatever. Like
if your kid has an interest at guns at like 5-6 years old, I think it's important to start then and go, look, guns can be a fun hobby thing, but from the beginning, preach to them about safety, gun safety. Teach them all that. I was taught that from a very young age, and they weren't this weird. I don't know what you'd say.
It's weird, like stigma around them to where
there wasn't this aura. Taboo. That's the word I was looking for. There's no taboo. There was no taboo there for me.
Right.
Like
exactly.
Boobs, for instance. Like in America, like kids now, like seeing a boob would be a big deal back when we were a younger kid, because you'd have to get a hold of some magazine or something. Now kids have porn all over their phones and stuff.
Right.
And I guess in like Europe, they've always been able to have nudity on televisions, and it's just not a big deal to see nudity. Whereas here, it's a bigger deal.
Yeah. Also, alcohol abuse is bigger here with teens, and then in Europe, it's not such a big deal, and
they can have it at a younger age.
I think that's legal at like 14 or 15 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, so he gets enrolled in karate classes, and he's doing pretty well. He seems to like it a lot, and he's nearing the end of middle school, and he starts hanging out with a rough group of kids, though.
Yeah.
He's hanging out with the tough kids on the school bus. They all ride together. And it's around this time that he's also asking his parents for a gun. He's obsessed with guns. Mm-hmm. His parents are very against the idea of him at this young age getting a gun. We already talked about it. But they end up, because he's so persistent, they end up giving him BB guns. Yeah. And he would actually fashion these to look like an assault rifle. He sawed one of the butts off of one of them to look like a sawed-off shotgun. This would be alarming to me at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, where's he learning this stuff? Why does he feel the need to make them look like a...
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it could be normal, but it could be... I think it's a little red flag for me.
Yeah, I guess so. At a young age, when I got my first BB gun, I was just satisfied that it shot things.
Exactly. That's my point. Why does it need to look like...
I'm about to shoot the book out of this milk carton.
Yeah, I had a Red Ryder.
Yeah.
And we sawed off the butt of it just so it would fit better in my shoulder, but not so it looked like some scary ass gun,
Right.
He would start to kind of quietly stockpile away weapons in his bedroom. The police would later find a stockpile of altered guns. Like we said, he sawed off the BB gun.
Knives, machete.
Yeah, all kinds of shit. I mean, some of it his parents gave him, some of it, who knows where he got it from. he's so obsessed with it. I'm sure he's looking for them. He's just taken from his dad or whatever. And all these stockpiles of shit that he's hiding, and they give him the BB guns. None of it's filling his need for.
Right.
He needs more. He needs more, and he keeps begging his parents for a real gun. And reluctantly, for his 12th birthday, his dad Bill gives him a childhood rifle that he had.
Yeah.
And so now this is Kip's first real gun that he gets his hands on.
Yep.
And but it doesn't really. It's not helping to get his behavior. I mean, you're giving him stuff, but I mean, he's hanging out with the rough crowd.
Yeah,
and
it's not satisfying that thirst yet.
No,
still.
and during this time, he's hanging out with this crowd, and something they're getting into is going to the mall and stealing CDs.
Yeah,
He's getting into the darker rock music and stuff, and not that there's anything wrong with it. We'll get into the bands that he's listening to during this time a little bit later.
Yeah.
But the point is, he at the mall one of these days, he's trying to steal a CD and he gets caught, and this is his first arrest. His parents, in response, got him a computer. So he gets arrested. His parents are obviously upset, and they're this is one of those things. It's like we say these parents, they tried their best, but I think this is one of those mistakes.
This is probably not.
Sometimes parents' easier road is just to keep you home, and they're going to give you a reward for something that you've done wrong just to keep you in the house.
Just to keep you at home.
So they get him a computer for his bedroom, and from then on, he spends most of his time up in his bedroom on the internet, which is kind of a new thing, which is what we wanted to get into with the school shooters.
Right.
We'll talk more about the shooters that were going on during this time in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's a trend there. Like all of a sudden the internet is readily accessible.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's up in his...
They're feeling more isolated. They're feeling like they're being left out. And
they have access to a lot of dark stuff on the internet, stuff that they wouldn't think of in their own head.
Right.
They're not going to be reading newspapers, so...
And I think it kind of opens up their world and their imagination to, hey, there's
other possibilities.
And there's other people like me out there. Like I'm not the only one, and this is how these people are reacting. This is what these people do to make them feel better. Maybe it'll make me feel better,
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be open to those possibilities or those thoughts.
Yeah, so he's up in his bedroom. He's spending endless hours online. Just a quick side note on what we were just talking about with the internet. During the late 1990s, it was estimated that the traffic on public internet grew by 100% per year. So every year during the late 90s, it would grow by 100%. And so this is
It just
to
doubled
me,
every year.
like we said, 96 to 99, there was this rash of school shootings with teenagers.
Right.
How much of that had to do with that stat right there?
Yeah.
These kids sitting at home on the internet rather than being out and being a part of the world. It's not only that they have access to all this information that they may not be ready for, but also they're not out there interacting with people. So they get a detachment from other people, thus being able to commit acts of violence against them because they don't feel like any kind of an attachment to those kids that they're later going to shoot.
Yeah.
And I don't know. These are just theories in my head. It's to show, like we talked about, it's a lot of speculation, but I tend to believe the internet played a big role in these shootings in the late 90s.
I think it continued to.
Yeah. Not only a lot of time he spent on the internet, he's looking at porn. Apparently, according to police records.
Shocker.
Yeah, I mean, that's
15.
totally normal.
It's 15, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing around this time, the 90s, I was doing the same thing. It was a little slow, Parents leave for a little while, and you get the dial-up freaking going.
Parents are like, I tried to call for 3 hours. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't.
Trying to download one image, and I'm got like half a nipple. My parents pulling the driveway. So, the key was, I had a computer that was my parents', and it was in their bedroom, and I only got access to it when they didn't know I was having access to it. He's up there. They're just letting him be in his bedroom with his own computer, access to the internet all day long, when he's 12 years old. I don't think that's so much of a good idea, although almost every kid now is living that way. Every 12-year-old now has got a smartphone.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And they will stay on it if you do not.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
If you're not safeguarding your kid's smartphone and they're 12 years old, you probably should be.
Yeah, like my kids have tablets, but they don't get them until the sun goes down. They're like outside. I'm like, and you have to take them from them.
And you're keeping an eye on what they're using it for, too.
But they will stay on them like all day.
Oh, for sure. It's like crack, dude. It's like crack too.
And like parents now, they get upset about it. They're like, oh, my kids stay on this. I'm like, if you had that as a kid, you'd be doing the same shit.
Right.
You'd be doing the same thing. It's all about opportunities. It's all about what's available.
Yeah.
That tablet is your big will. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd have been on it the same way.
Yeah, it can be as much of a crutch as you want, you allow it to be.
Exactly.
And so he's looking at porn. He's also listening to Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, and Rage Against the Machine a lot. I'm sure amongst many other similar bands. But
nothing wrong with Rage, man.
No, I love Rage. I loved all
Rage
these bands.
Rage
I loved all these bands
has
growing
a pretty
up.
positive
message.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more anti-government and stuff
Yeah.
than it is like go out and
Yeah.
kill people.
Right.
Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails, on the other hand, are pretty dark. Pretty dark. And for an example, one thing is the police recovered later on from his bedroom was a printed and framed page of lyrics from a Marilyn Manson song called "The Reflecting God." It was from the album Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh yeah, I remember that album.
And the lyrics that he printed, so he just printed an entire page with the words "no salvation, no
Yeah,
forgiveness,"
over and over again.
no salvation, no
Like
forgiveness.
Bart
no,
Simpson style.
100. Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Which is creepy. Imagine finding if his parents would have found this. That's big red flag.
Yeah.
Your kid printed out and framed a page that says "no salvation, no forgiveness" over and over and over again.
Right.
Could be normal behavior. I mean,
Maybe
look,
like,
there's a
you
lot
couldn't
of
have done it in
angst.
Spanish.
Dude, there's a lot of angst to being a teenager. And I went through, just like the rest of us, we all went through weird years when we were a teenager where things seem to be bad and they're never going to get better and all this stuff. And some of this stuff is normal behavior. This could have been, there's probably other kids that have printed the same shit out and nothing ever happened. But it is, I think, at least a small cause for concern where it's like, you may want to sit your kid down and talk to him a little bit more after this instead of letting him just spend more endless hours online.
Right.
He's becoming more obsessed with guns. I mean, he always had been, but now he's adding in explosives.
Yeah.
Him and some friends are using the school computers as well as their home computers to look up bomb-making materials. They're ordering. They use the school computers apparently to order bomb-making books and materials, which is really dumb. They got caught quickly doing that. Shortly after that, they're on a field trip. Kip and his awesome friends. They're on a field trip, and during the field trip, they're up on this overpass bridge with a highway below, and they began throwing rocks off the bridge.
Rocks off of this thing, man.
It made me think of, have you happened to seen the movie with Macaulay Culkin, The Good Son?
I haven't.
It reminds me of this damn story, dude.
Really?
Look that movie up, or if you guys have seen it, it's an old movie from the 90s. Obviously, it's got Macaulay Culkin. It's like right after Home Alone, I think.
Yeah.
Anyways, basically the story goes, him, and I want to say it's his adopted brother. Anyway.
Right.
One of them is a good kid. The other one, Macaulay Culkin's a little demon.
Yeah.
And like, there's a scene in that movie where they're up on an overpass, and Macaulay Culkin's convincing this other kid to do stuff with him that he would never normally do.
Is Macaulay Culkin real, or is it just the kid's alternate personality?
It's not a Sixth Sense type thing.
It's not a Fight Club type deal?
No, it's not. But anyways, there's a scene in the movie where they go on this overpass, and Macaulay Culkin actually gets like a big human-sized dummy and throws it off the freaking overpass and causes this big accident.
Whoa.
And so I couldn't help but think about that scene in the movie because, Kip and his friend, that's a big, they end up getting a felony for this. They throw a big rock off this overpass and it hits a car's window. Yeah. And they get arrested and they get a felony charge for this. So this is Kip's first felony, when he's still a young teenager.
Yep.
This is obviously his parents are getting far more concerned because this is a frequency of this. He's gotten arrested for the CDs. Yep. He's gotten caught at school ordering bomb-making books, and now he's gotten a felony charge for throwing rocks off a bridge.
They're kind of at their wits' end right here.
They are, and so Faith, his mother, begins lobbying to her husband Bill, Kip's father, to take Kip to a psychologist. Yeah. Bill at first is very against the idea. He thinks according to the documentary, he thinks they're basically on par with chiropractors. Chiropractors. Sorry.
We'll get there.
I know Kip's struggle, man. Trust me. I'm not gonna take his struggle lightly, but mine. I mean, I struggle with words at times too. So
it's okay, Lauren.
I have a small amount of his pain. So I guess Bill would eventually agree to take Kip into a psychologist. And the psychologist would quickly learn a lot about Kip's psychology. I guess it seemed like Kip opened it up to him and told him a lot of stuff. Basically, the way he felt is that his father expected the worst of him, and viewed him as a bad kid with bad habits, where his mother viewed him as a good kid with bad habits. Yeah, there's a difference there. So I guess Kip in his mind, his dad thought he was, he kept him around because he was his son, but he felt like his dad just put no stock into his future and thought he was a lost cause type of thing.
He kind of gave up on him.
Right, and I mean, I don't have a kid yet. I've got one on the way, but from what I hear, you love your kid no matter what. Yeah, but so far, what does Bill have to go on? Kip is continuing to do bad things, and they continue to try, and he keeps doing bad things. So you kind of see Bill's point in the whole matter. Also, Kip feared that if he expressed his feelings with Bill, that his father would become angry with him. He said that he also told the psychologist that to relieve stress on a bad day, I mean, I guess there weren't too many good days in Kip's life at this time, but on a real bad day, I guess one of the things he would do to relieve stress would he would go out and detonate homemade bombs at a local quarry.
Yeah.
That's kind of alarming as well right there to me.
Yeah, it is. Going back real quick to Kip's father, where he said that he felt like he couldn't talk to him because he would be upset with him.
Yeah.
That is a hard thing as a parent, man. It is super hard. Like, you want to tell your kids, look, you can come to me about anything, you can talk to me about anything, but when they tell you that they did something wrong, it's something that you know that you've told them not to do over and over and over again, or something that you've obviously made a case against their entire life, and they do it, and you're like, what's wrong with you? You know, that's like the first instinct to do. It's so easy. And I could see, you know, Kip's father, Bill, you know, getting up there in age, and he has one perfect kid who turned out perfectly fine. So he's like, hey, it's not me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's kind of starting to get frustrated. It is, man. It's hard to be patient, especially if they keep doing the same things.
Right.
I mean,
that's my point.
It's very difficult to be an understanding parent. Like we all like to think that, and to think that we're going to be that way. But when it comes time, you know, I feel the rubber to hit this concrete.
Reading this whole story, I felt so conflicted because, like I said, I got a kid on the way, and so I'm trying to figure out where they could have done better, the parents. But a lot of times I'm just like, I think like, oh, they could have done this, and I'm like, well, no, not necessarily. Like they could have just never given him guns, ever, and totally refused him. But we'll find out later he can get his hands on guns because
if he wanted guns, he'd got.
That's
guns.
where the real story begins, and that's where the day to come happens, is buying a gun from a kid at school. So I mean, and apparently the police also found a gun in his room that the parents didn't even know about, that no one knows where he got it from.
Yeah.
And so guns are out there, especially in America. People are going to get their hands on them. So it's a touchy thing, man. It's like, how much do you encourage his gun obsession? How much do you try to keep it down, hold it, and keep it away from him, like the forbidden fruit conversation we had.
Exactly.
Around this time, he would get into a fight with a kid. I guess somebody kid called him a name on the school bus, and when they got off the bus, they got into it. And according to Kip's, Kip had a friend at the time who's done interviews since. Yeah. According to him, Kip kicked the kid in the head. Yeah. And won the fight, but he still couldn't let it go, which says something about him. You know, to me,
it just wasn't enough.
To me,
he felt like justice wasn't served, I guess.
Right.
In his own mind.
That's a very telling thing. I think that's abnormal. Most kids, when they get into fights, they a lot of times end up being friends later. It's like they get that out and it's over. And especially if you win the fight, like you kick a kid in the head and it's over, like, and you're still angry. Apparently he stormed into class and like wanted this kid's address.
Yeah. See, you're right. That is a very telling sign, because usually even if you win a fight, you're still like, damn,
I'm glad that's over.
And you're also thinking, man, that kid didn't back down.
Right.
You know, that kid.
Yeah, you have some mutual respect.
Yeah, that kid's got balls. Okay, I'm not going to mess with him again.
You see it in
I still don't want to get punched.
You see it in professional fighting too. Yeah. You see it where guys were talking mad shit leading up to the fight. Then as soon as it ends, they act like they were enemies. As soon as it ends, they're hugging it out. You know? So because
they both beat the shit out of each other to a certain extent, and they got some respect.
Yeah. So I don't know. Kip would eventually, we'll talk about it, but he gets to the point where kids were afraid to bully him or say anything because he had this reputation of like, I don't know what he's capable of type of thing.
Yeah, he later wrote, there's actually an entry in his journal.
We're going to read a lot of entries from his journal coming up here soon. So back in therapy after the fight, he was because he's still got ongoing therapy. It wasn't just a one-off thing. He's going to therapy on a weekly basis during this time. He was diagnosed with a major depressive order. So he has, basically the doctor says his kid's got major depression. The family doctor would then prescribe Prozac for him, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, an SSRI. And you hear a lot about people that have PTSD that come back from war, get put on these things.
Yeah.
And they can do a lot of good and they can do a lot of harm. It really depends on the person. And it's not something I want to talk a lot about because I don't know a whole lot about it. I've never been on one.
Yeah, but they seem to be kind of a trial and error medicine. You know, there's different ones out there, and there's not a sure one that's going to work for everybody. So you kind of go on them, you kind of see how it goes for a couple weeks, and then doing great.
Also, the psychologist told Bill to try lightening up his pressure on Kip and go a little easier on him, and try to relate to him. And so during this time, Bill's starting to talk about things that interest Kip, which guns. They're talking guns more. So did the psychologist. The psychologist is a big gun nut, apparently. Coincidentally. And in therapy, the doctor would spend some time in therapy talking guns with Kip. some people can say this is probably a good thing, probably a bad thing. I don't know. You're relating to him. You're trying to get him to open up and
Right.
talk about what he likes, but it kind of backfired because the psychologist would end up telling him what his favorite guns were, and he had 2 Glocks. Apparently, that was his gun of choice. And he would tell Kip how great these guns were, and it would later be Kip's weapon of choice.
Right.
And so once the
Way to go, psychologist.
yeah, you can look at it that way for sure.
Psychologist's name is Jeffrey Hicks, by the way.
Jeffrey Hicks.
Not sure how I feel about this fella. But go ahead.
No, I'm trying to think of how I feel about him too, honestly, because I one of those things I can look
I
at
just
either
feel like
way.
he wasn't-
I can see that you're trying to open up, you're trying to get Kip to open
Yeah.
up, and you're trying to relate to him and stuff. But
I feel like there's some huge warning signs he missed, though. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just maybe not missed, but just didn't go in depth enough.
he would later say that he didn't agree at all with letting Kip have guns too, which is kind of funny because you're sitting there and talking up guns and how awesome they are to Kip the whole time, and it's like,
how
oh, but
are you gonna keep?
then you're
this-
going to tell his parents, don't let him have one.
Right.
We talked guns for an hour in our session, but yeah, just definitely don't let him have one.
No, he's a little bit obsessed.
So Kip would start hounding his dad about getting a Glock after old Bill Hicks was bragging. Is it Bill Hicks or what's his name?
Jeffrey Hicks.
Jeffrey Hicks.
Yeah.
Jeff Hicks, the psychologist, talking up how good Glocks are.
Yeah.
And so through persistence, Bill would once again cave, and he would buy Kip a Glock. But there was some stipulations that went along with this. He wasn't
Right.
just going to give him the Glock and just, here you go, buddy.
Yeah. Have fun.
Apparently, Bill's wise enough to know that this kid needs. He has to be watched. He can't just be
Yeah.
given. So what he would do is start going to gun safety courses with Kip.
Yeah.
The two of them would go together. I think it's a good thing for sure.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
probably should have done this before this though.
Right.
He might have waited a little too long for this.
Yeah.
So he takes him to say, and he also basically, some of the rules were that he couldn't have the gun to himself. It would only be used in Bill's presence. So the two of them would shoot together, target, shoot, or whatever.
Right.
After 9 sessions with the psychologist, Kip showed improvement. I guess the medication's working, the sessions and therapy are working.
Right.
And so naturally, you just stop all that, right? He's better now.
Right. Just write it off.
I'm-
He's done.
when
He's
I-
healed.
This part is enraging.
Released
to
from
me.
Arkham.
This part is so confusing, and it actually angers me a bit. 'Cause it's like
Yeah.
the brain is a touchy thing. It's not like, oh, you're healed. It's not like a broken bone.
No.
Like I've broken a bunch of bones. You put a cast on it. You go through the whatever it is, 7 weeks with the cast, and then they cut the cast off, and you strengthen it back up, and you're good, and you're done.
Yeah.
That's not how the brain works. That's not how
Not at
depression
all.
works. You put somebody on a medication and it's going well. You need to stay on what's working for you, in my opinion.
Right.
And if you're going to come off of it, it needs to be very carefully, and you need to have a plan for what you're going
And
to do.
gradually.
Because this
Not
is
just all at once. Just boom. Stop taking
this is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it is upping his serotonin, what makes you happy and feel better.
Right.
So you stop this, that's going to go away. He's going to go back to feeling depressed again, in my opinion. And I think that's where this story, it could have gone, things could have turned for him if they would have kept him on this medication, kept him what was working.
Yeah.
Just because something works for 6 weeks doesn't mean that it's going to work forever if you stop it.
Right.
He needs to continue the therapy. He needs to continue the medication.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not huge on pharmaceuticals, but it seemed like it was helping him at this time.
You can't deny
And
that
if
pharmaceuticals
it's
do a lot
helping-
of bad and they do a lot of good. There
Yeah.
is definitely cases where people do need it. I'm not going to deny that. But there's other cases where people are just a little depressed for a week and maybe they've been happy for a long time and all of a sudden they get put on a medication when if they would have just waited out the week or if they would have tried something different, done some exercise, gotten
Yeah.
out, there's ways it can be healed either way.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
there's a place in the world for these type of medications for sure. And I think they should have, for this kid's case,
He was on
someone
this-
who seemed to be depressed from almost birth. Like he admitted later that he has never had a time when he was happy in his life.
Right. But these 3 months that he was on this Prozac
He seemed maybe not happy, but at least like
stable.
stabled off. His mother
Yeah.
was very excited. She was calling Kip's sister in college and telling him that he's doing a lot better.
Yeah.
He's now entering high school. He's just come off the medication, and he's going into high school now. So that's going to be a lot more anxiety involved with that.
Exactly.
So it's just and the timing of that is weird to me too. You take him off right at the end of summer as he's going into high school. Take him off what's working for him.
Yeah, but I think he doesn't want to go into high school with this stigma around himself, like, oh, I have depression, like I'm different, like I'm.
No one
You
has
know-
to know. No one has to know that he's taking Prozac.
But
or
he knows. You know what I'm saying?
maybe he wants to take he feels like he's like Forrest Gump with the braces on his legs. And
He
he wants to
doesn't-
get those off before he goes into high school type of
Right,
thing.
kind of. You know, he's when he pulled out of class to take his medication or whatever has to be done. You know, and inevitably kids are going to know, I would think.
And to be fair, it was him that wanted to come off the medication. It wasn't
Exactly. That's
it
what I
wasn't
mean.
the psychologist or the doctor or the parents that were telling him, okay, you're good. We're going to take you off this. He kind of begged his parents to let him come off of it, and they agreed.
Yeah.
Which I think he's still underage. They should have probably said, I know what's best for you. You need to continue this. We saw you before. We seen you after. You seem a lot better after.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, they once again seemed like they always just gave in to him. That's one place I think they maybe went wrong. I don't know. So he's going into high school, and one thing is, we kind of talked about this beforehand. His dad kind of pushed him into football when he first as a freshman. Knowing Kip, I think for most kids, sports are great. But for Kip,
very necessary.
For Kip, he's undersized. He was 120 pounds. And apparently his dad, Bill, because he worked as a Spanish teacher at this school for so long, he had a reputation there. He knew all the teachers, and he knew the football coach. So he talked to the football coach, and he thought this would be good for Kip. Keep him busy, get him tired, all that stuff. I think all the stuff that sports are good for kids is what Bill was thinking. But Kip is not a physical being. I think Kip maybe would have thrived more in the arts or as a musician. I think if he was given a guitar and led in that direction, just me looking at it from an outsider,
I think Kip was like 120 pounds at this time.
He was 120 pounds, and the coach made him a lineman. So naturally, he didn't see any playing time. He was a third stringer, and this just kind of made him feel more like an outsider, is what he would say. And we can look into his journal during this time and see kind of what was going on in his head during this time. This is an entry from his journal around the time that he's a freshman. I sit here all alone. I'm always alone. I don't know who I am. I want to be something I can never be. I try so hard every day, but in the end, I hate myself for what I've become. Every single person I know means nothing to me. I hate every person on this earth. I wish they could all go away. You all make me sick. I wish I was dead. The only reason I stay alive is because of hope. Even though I am repulsive and few other people know who I am, I still feel that things might maybe just be a little bit get better. I don't understand any fucking person on this earth. Some of you are so weak, mainly that at 4 years old I could just push you down. I am strong, but my head just doesn't work right. I know I should be happy with what I have, but I hate living. That, if it was found in his journal in his room, would be that. I mean, could you imagine finding one of your kids had written something like that?
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying it got found. I think this got found after everything happened. I think the police found this later on. Ugh.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Kind of gives you chills a little bit. And
to kind of get into his head and knowing what was going on, and it almost makes you wonder if the medicine didn't really make him feel better, but it just didn't give him the energy or the notion to act on it. So like he felt it, but he just felt careless maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like more of down, like, oh, I'm just depressed, but it also made him feel helpless because in his regular life, without medication, he felt down and depressed, but he always felt like he had this hidden rage where he could, in his mind, he could handle things if things came to that. Mm-hmm. He was taking karate, he had weapons. Yeah. But like on Prozac, I think it almost was like, oh well. I think he kind of maybe he felt like
he's
that.
Off
maybe
of
that's
that now.
No, I know. That's why this came out.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
I think maybe that might have been part of his reason for wanting to come off the medication, because all the pain and all the feelings were still there. He just didn't have the gall to act on it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Maybe. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I don't know if I'm coming across. I'm making
sense.
It
makes sense to me. One thing that may have kept him going during this time, it didn't give him, like he said, a little bit of hope, was that he had met a girl in school.
Right.
And there's a part in his journal, if you want to go ahead and read that.
Okay, yeah, sure. He wrote, "Every time I talk to her, I have a small amount of hope, but then she will tear it right down. It feels like my heart is breaking. But is that possible? I'm so consumed with hate all the time. Could I ever love anyone? I have feelings, but do I have a heart that's not black and full of animosity?" So,
yeah,
it's kind of
dark.
It is dark, man.
It's a dark way of looking at, like,
it's, to me,
most kids when they teenagers when they meet someone they like, it's like all just roses and clouds and the way he looks at it's like it's almost this impending doom, like it's not going to go well. It's
such mixed emotions here, because he's like, my heart is breaking, but is that possible? And then,
do I have a heart?
Yeah, do I have? It's like it's consistent with like almost sociopath type feelings, like not feeling anything. Right. But then if you didn't feel anything, what would bring you to write this in the first place? So it's kind of, are his feelings
He's trying to convince
fleeting
himself
here?
that he has no feelings, but he obviously does when you
Yes.
read the stuff that he's writing.
Yes, that's exactly right. Like, I feel like he has these urges to do these things, and he needs it. He needs a reason,
Right.
and his reason, and a justification to him, may be, I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. I don't feel anything. I don't know. But obviously he does, or he wouldn't write these things. These kids wouldn't get to him.
Right. Another little part of the journal, because he wrote a whole long thing about this girl. Another thing he said was, I need help. There's one person that could help, but she won't. I need to find someone else. I think I love her, but she still could never love me. I don't know why I try.
Right.
That part sounds like a typical teenage journal, though. I mean,
Yeah, it
everything is like this relationship. If I don't get this person, there's no hope for me after this.
Yeah.
It's like your life's gonna be. If you happen to be a young person listening to this and you're going through some depression or some hard times, just know that time does heal a lot of stuff. And there's some people that me and you thought were going to be the end all be all. I was with a girl when I was a teenager that I was like, I'm going to be with this girl forever. And then she broke up with me and I was heartbroken. And now I don't hardly ever, I think about her anymore.
Right. It's like
I'm married to I'm married to a way cooler chick. We have a baby on the way and everything's fantastic. Just wait it, just wait it out and keep your head forward and just keep moving. If you feel like you can't get through it and you've been depressed for a long time, seek out therapy. There's helplines you can call,
Yeah.
definitely.
And plus, like, it comes to getting married, like 30 is like the new 20, so you got plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely. Life's long. In 6 months, you're going to forget about that person. Trust me.
Yeah, really.
You'll find another one that'll be way cooler.
That's right.
They're around the corner.
True that.
So he got with this girl, and they actually ended up dating. But according to a girl that he was friends with, who came out in an interview and talked about it later, it was one of those things where she was kind of flaky. Apparently, like that's how a lot of these teenage relationships go. Like,
I think she was afraid of him to a certain
that could have been a
extent.
part of it as well.
He mentions that in his journal, how
He would want to hang out with her, and she would kind of make excuses, and
Yeah.
apparently it got broken off not long after.
Just inconcisive answers.
Yeah.
Just kind of,
Yeah, so they break it off, and I've got another quote from his journal, I guess after the breakup. Please, someone help me. All I want is something small, nothing big. I just want to be happy. End. New day. Today of all days. I asked her to help me. I was shot down. I feel like my heart has been ripped open and ripped apart. Right now I'm drunk, so I don't know what the hell is happening to me.
Which is weird. They didn't talk about him abusing alcohol that much in the documentary or anything, did they?
I think he's saying he's drunk, like he just doesn't feel like
like
he's unconscious, like he doesn't know what's going
So he's
on.
not actually drinking.
No, it's like a metaphorical sense, drunk.
Well, maybe.
Important to note that during his during the time he was dating this girl for a very short, brief period, it happened to coincide with the time that in his English class they were studying Romeo and Juliet, and they actually watched the modern version of Romeo and Juliet.
How fitting.
The movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and such.
Oh, yeah.
And so they watched that in class, and he becomes, I wouldn't say obsessed, but it affected him. It stuck with him, this movie, because I think he identified with a lot of parts of it.
Yeah, he did.
And he would actually get his hands on the soundtrack record to this movie.
Yeah, which is kind of an eerie
orchestra
type of music.
We'll get into it, because this is not the end of this Romeo and Juliet soundtrack.
Right.
From this story. Near the end of his freshman year, Kip and his friends start discussing the school shootings we were talking about. And this is...
they kind of talk about like what they did wrong, how they got caught.
Kip is talking about that.
Yeah.
His friends are a little weirded out by the fact that he's talking like this. He's saying, this is where these kids went wrong. I would have done this. I would have definitely taken myself out if I were these.
And they're like, whoa, take it easy.
He's basically saying these kids are pussies that don't shoot themselves at the end of it, is what he's basically saying.
Yeah.
Which...
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing. Do you want to talk a little about the other school shootings that we keep referencing to? We'll just quickly run through them. So at this point in Kip's story, we're into 1998 now. And in the previous year and a half or so, there's been 3 big name school shootings that have gone down that his friends and Kip have noticed and they're talking about. Yep. And so we keep referencing them. So let's just quickly run through these 3 school shootings that they're talking about. So this is the first one. On October 1st, 1997 in Mississippi, 16-year-old Luke Woodham killed 2 students and injured 7 others at his high school. One of the 2 that he killed was his ex-girlfriend. So this was one of those where he had a mission. He was on a mission to kill ex-girlfriend, anyone else in his way.
That became known as the Pearl High School shooting.
That was the Pearl High School shooting. And then on December 1st, 1997, the same year, in West Paducah, Kentucky. Sorry if I butchered that town name.
Yeah,
This is
close enough.
the Heath High School shooting. 14-year-old Michael Carneal opened fire on a group of praying students, killing 3 and injuring 5 more.
Damn.
Crazy. So basically, he rode to school in his sister's car, and he was planning this whole thing out. And when he got out of the car, there was a prayer group going on in front of the school, and he just opened fire on these little girls. And
That's awful.
yeah, killed 3 of them, injured 5 more, and then he basically turned himself in right there, dropped his gun, and the principal got him.
Wow.
And then March 24th, 1998, my bad, the West Side Middle School shootings. This one is crazy to think that these 2 middle schoolers got together.
Yeah.
And the way that they planned this out, it's really
heart-wrenching,
scary.
man.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
13-year-old Mitchell Johnson and 11-year-old Andrew Golden killed a teacher and 4 other students, wounding 10 others at West Side Middle School after basically one of them set off the school alarm, and the way the school was set up, there was a tree line that led into the woods just outside the school, and they had all their stuff waiting there. And so one of them pulled the fire alarm, and then they waited in the field for everyone to come out, and they just started open firing on them. And they had filled one of the kids' mom's vans with all kinds of camping gear. So their plan was to shoot a bunch of kids at their middle school and then take the van and on a camping trip and hide out for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, but it didn't work out. They got caught. What's crazy is they would actually get out by their 21st birthday, both of them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, one of them spent 7 years in prison. The other one spent 9 years in prison. But by their 21st birthday, both of them were released. So they're out walking the streets nowadays. I think one of them stayed in trouble with the law afterwards, but crazy. So this is all leading up. Kip's seeing all this stuff, and I'm sure it's filling his head with more. He's already been depressed for years and feels like he can relate to no one, and then he's seeing these other kids doing it. He thinks he can do it better.
Right.
The divide also is growing larger with his parents. Bill's threatening to take his guns away
Mainly
at this
his
point.
dad, though, I think,
Yeah.
at this point. Him and his dad are just really butting heads here.
Well, I feel like his
I
dad
think
is
Bill's
the one.
getting fed up.
I don't want to slander his mother Faith's name, but I feel like his dad is really the one who's parenting here. It seems like Faith is so indecisive. She doesn't know what to do with Kip because her daughter was so easy and just went along with everything. And with Kip, seems like she's a deer in headlights a lot of times. Like Bill's got to make the decisions. Bill's got to do it all, and that's why he's butting heads with Kip so much.
Yeah.
And so this is all leading up to on the morning of May 20th, 1998, Kip was arrested at school when he bought a .32 caliber Beretta pistol from a friend. So this friend had stolen this pistol from his dad, and then Kip had talked to him and made an agreement that Kip was going to meet him at school and pay $110 for this gun. And so they met up at school. Kip bought the gun for $110, put this .32 caliber Beretta in a bag, and then stuffed it into his locker.
Right. Fully loaded.
Fully loaded. And the father that had the gun stolen from him noticed that his gun was missing and called the police. He would actually provide the police with a list of names whose students he thought might have stolen the gun, which shockingly, Kip's name was not on this list.
Oh, wow.
But word gets around. The police, I'm sure, went to the school, and someone gave up Kip because the police became aware that Kip was involved, and they went to his class, pulled him out of class, and started questioning him about it.
Right.
And Kip, I guess, was just super nervous and just gave it up right away. Like, look, I'm just going to tell you the gun's in my locker.
Yeah. They were real surprised at that.
They were just like,
rolled over. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It's in my locker."
well, I mean, they were going to check the locker, so he's not dumb. He may have trouble with reading and writing and stuff like that, but he's not a stupid kid.
Right.
And so he knew they were going to check his locker. So inside his locker, they find the fully loaded .32 caliber Beretta, and he would end up being charged with his second felony by the time he's 15 years old.
Jeez.
He was charged with possession of a firearm in a public building and a felony for receiving a stolen weapon. Big, major charges. You get a call.
Seriously.
Bill gets a call from the police station that his son's been involved in this, and even Bill, knowing all the Kip's struggles, is still surprised that he would do this. He would go this far.
Yeah.
As to buy a gun at school and put it in his locker. And the drive home is, I'm sure, where this whole thing goes to where it's. I feel like this is where Kip is. He's decided this is going down because Bill is reaming him on the whole drive home. Kip is super concerned about his mom finding out. His mom's at work at this time. Bill went from work, picked him up and took him home. And on the ride home, Bill's telling him, you know, that he's basically an embarrassment. He's telling him he's going to send him to military school if his act doesn't get cleaned up. Obviously, he's telling him, you're not getting access to any guns anymore. They're all gone. Forget about them. And I think we can almost picture how it went down when they got back to the house, Kip and his father.
Yeah.
It's like this moment where, like we were talking about before the show, where it's like, I don't even want to look at you. Just go up to your bedroom. We'll talk about this later when your mom gets home.
They had enough conversation, and
On
Bill
the car
was
ride.
probably
fuming.
Yeah, he needed to calm down before he dealt with this, you know.
Right. And trying to put myself in Kip's dark mindset at this time, where it's like he knew that this is going to be a big embarrassment to his parents. His father works for the school that he was busted at. All of his father's friends and his mother's friends are going to find out about this. And that was one of Kip's biggest things. He didn't want to be an embarrassment to his family.
No, he did not.
And
he really cared about the way they were viewed, and always thought highly of them.
Right. All the way to the end.
Yeah.
And so up in his bedroom, Kip would retrieve his .22 caliber rifle. And this is about 3 p.m. Bill is downstairs. He's in the kitchen sitting at a counter.
Right.
He's having some coffee apparently. And Kip would come down the stairs. He had retrieved ammunition from his father's bedroom, by the way. And so about 3 p.m. he comes downstairs. He goes up behind his father, who's sitting at the counter, and shoots him in the back of the head. Doesn't say anything.
Nothing.
Bill dies immediately, falls onto the counter. And Kip would then drag his body into the guest bathroom, cover him with a sheet, and close the door.
Close the door. Yeah.
And part of it, I think the biggest part is like his anxiety of his mother coming home, and how was that going to go? His dad telling his mother about it, and just her reaction to it. And in his mind, it was almost easier just to kill him and be done, and not have that happen. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think in the angsty, depressed teen's mind, where everything is the end of the world.
Right.
Like, he doesn't picture that this can go down. It can be tough for a while. His parents will be disappointed, but he can turn this around. You can always turn things around.
Right.
You just start now. You know, like, yeah, I fucked up.
Right.
I can turn this around. I'm not dead. No one's dead.
Exactly.
Now they are afterwards.
Well, I don't think it made it any worse, and he kind of realized that, and then it was just a compound problem. It was like, oh no, you know.
Well, I killed my dad.
I don't
now
want
I've
my
gotta kill
mom to know that I misbehaved in school.
And I also
So
don't want her to know.
Dad. Oh, now I don't want her to know that I killed my dad.
Yeah.
You know, now it's even going to be more of an embarrassment of her to go on living having a son that murdered, you know, his own father.
And his mother always tried to think the best of him, and that was one thing that kept him going, I think, through all these years, is that his mother, like he said to the psychologist, my mother thinks I'm a good kid that's made bad decisions.
Yep.
So now his mother would actually think he's a bad kid when he kills his father. So he's actually, this has got to be an awkward few hours, because he killed his father, like we said, around 3 p.m. and his mother wasn't going to be getting home from work until about 6:30. And so
he's just waiting, stewing on this.
He's sitting around. And according to him, he was watching out the window, waiting for his mother to get home, and he had planned basically to kill her when she got home. And so she pulls up about 6:30 into the garage. He met her in the garage, supposedly to help her with groceries, is what he said. And when she was walking up the stairs into the house, he came up behind her with the .22 and said, "I love you, Mom," and shot her twice in the back of the head. When she fell to the ground, he shot her once in the forehead above the eye, once in her left cheek, another in the center of her forehead, and once in the heart. And when we were discussing
6
this
total
before the
shots.
show, you were kind of disgusted, like, how could you shoot your mother so many times? And I think it kind of, to me, points to the fact that he loved her so much because he was worried about her suffering.
Yeah.
I really think that's what it
I mean,
was.
that's a great point.
I think he wanted her to die as fast as possible and just be, and I think he was also afraid of her seeing that it was him that had done it.
Yeah.
Is something that he had said afterwards too. He didn't want her, even though he said, "I love you, Mom," when he did it, but I don't think he wanted her to see his face doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree.
Yeah, so he then drug her to the middle of the garage and put a sheet over her. He then played loudly the soundtrack to the Romeo and Juliet movie that we talked about, which is so eerie.
It is.
So eerie. Because the next day when the police would come to his house, it would still be on repeat.
Still be playing, just
loudly
blaring.
playing. And you can actually watch the police videotape of them arriving to this house, and it almost sounds like the documentaries making the music.
Yeah.
It like put it like on a bed underneath the video, but it's actually the audio from the police recording, and that's
the police
how loud
said
it was.
So loud they had to yell at each other in the house.
Right.
over the music. They were screaming at each other to communicate in the house.
And we'll circle back around to that because that's later on after he makes his way to the school and wreaks
Right.
more havoc. So he killed his mother, he killed his father, and he would then have the long night waiting for the following morning where he had planned to drive to his school and shoot as many kids as he could
Right.
at his school. And so that night he loaded his Glock, he filled a gym bag filled with extra ammo, taped 2 bullets to his chest, planning to commit suicide. If it came down to it, he wanted to make sure he had the ammunition he needed.
Right.
And he taped a knife to his ankle. On the morning of May 21st, he drove his mother's Ford Explorer to the high school. He wore a trench coat and a 9-inch nails hat, his favorite hat. He carried 5 weapons, and the weapons were 2 hunting knives, a 9 by 19 millimeter Glock 19 pistol. A 9 millimeter Glock 19 is basically what it is. A Ruger 22 caliber semi-automatic rifle and a 22 caliber Ruger MK2 pistol. He was carrying 1,127 rounds of ammunition.
Jesus.
He arrived to the school about 7:45 a.m. and he parked on North 61th Street, 2 blocks away from the school. And it took him about 4 minutes to make the walk/jog down to the school.
Yeah.
It was a brisk walk. There's actually surveillance video of him walking through the parking lot. It's obviously very grainy because this is 98 we're talking about.
Right. He's wearing like his Inspector Gadget trench coat.
Yeah, I mean, he's a skinny kid, so it looks like he's wearing a blanket almost walking through the parking lot.
Right.
He walked through the hallways were kind of empty at this time in the morning. I guess most of the kids were in the cafeteria. And so he's walking through the hallways, and one of the people that he did happen to run into the hallways was a friend named Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And he told this kid, "Hey, get out of here. Something bad's about to happen." And shortly after talking to Adam and telling him to get out of there, he turns and there's a kid in the hall named Ben Walker. About 10 feet away from Kip, Kip aims and shoots and hits Ben Walker in the head,
Killing him.
killing him. Well, it wasn't instantly.
Wasn't it?
I think Ben died a little bit later, but
Oh.
he was one of the fatalities in this. Still in the hallway, he also shot Ryan Atterbury, wounding him. And this is one of the famous images from this case. If you look up the case, you might see a video or an
Yeah,
image
he's being walked out by the
of
police,
a kid
right?
being walked out with blood all over his face. That was Ryan Atterbury, who was shot in the hallway. Kip then made his way to the cafeteria. When he entered the cafeteria, he found just like, it seems like half the school was in there.
Right. They probably meet in there before school.
Yeah,
Before they divide
there's
up.
just a ton of kids in this cafeteria when he walks in.
Right.
And walking across the cafeteria, he would end up firing 48 rounds inside the cafeteria. He would strike 24 students, landing a total of 35 shots inside the cafeteria. He wounded 17-year-old Michael Nicolason. And when he wounded him, he walked up to him and apparently executed him. That would be the only fatality inside the cafeteria, miraculously.
Right.
Honestly, he
That's
shoots this
amazing.
many kids in this cafeteria, and it was
amazing.
like, man, those kids, some of those kids, one of them, it's definitely important to notice that it's amazing that she didn't die, Teresa Mittenberger.
Mm-hmm.
She was shot in the forehead, and she was later given a 20% chance of survival, and after
wow.
much therapy, she walked out of the hospital later on. So just a
Incredible.
absolute miracle that he only killed one kid inside this cafeteria. Still a tragedy.
Yeah. Sometimes the human
Michael.
body is extremely resilient, man. We've seen that in a lot of these stories.
Yeah. So he unloads the whole clip or magazine from his rifle inside the cafeteria, and as he's reaching to get his pistol, he's actually rushed by a few kids. One of them being Jacob Riker, who tackled him, and actually it's important to note that as Jacob rushed him, he actually managed to get his pistol out, and that was his Glock that
Right.
Was recommended by his awesome psychologist.
Right. Okay.
He pulls out his Glock as he's being rushed by Jacob Riker, and he actually manages to get a shot off, injuring Riker. But luckily for Riker, several other kids joined in. A total of
He fought through it, man.
a total of 9 students would end up helping to subdue him. Another one of note was Adam Wahlberger, who helped take him down as well.
Nice.
Riker would later receive the Boy Scouts of America Honor Medal with crossed palms for his heroism on that day. As the kids were holding him down and beating on him a little bit, he was screaming, "Just kill me." The students retained Kinkle until the police arrived and arrested him. I was wrong. It was actually a total of 7 students that held him down, not 9.
Okay.
I'm just making
That should
stats
do
up
it.
now. Yeah, 7 will do it. When
7 will
Kinkle
do it.
weighs a whopping 120 pounds,
Right.
he's not so tough when he doesn't have his guns,
Yeah.
once you get those out of his hands.
Exactly.
So he would be arrested, and inside the interrogation room, we've seen this on First 48 and a lot of confessions, interrogations, where they bring you in, they sit you down, you
Right.
need anything, we'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So they get him in the interrogation room, they sit Kinkle down, and the detective leaves for a few minutes, and during that time, Kinkle pulls out a knife that he had taped to his leg.
Right.
Maybe not the best job patting a kid down that just shot up a school.
Right.
Perhaps he could have done a little better job. I'm sure he's distraught, and he was probably crying on the way to the police station and worked up and all that stuff. But you got to
Right.
pat the kid down.
Exactly.
They're lucky he didn't have a gun taped to his leg, and it was only a
for real.
knife. But I mean, I don't think he intended to actually try and kill anyone with this knife. He was more, basically, what he admitted later is it was just him trying to suicide by cop.
Yeah. Trying to get the
He
cop to
didn't
pull a
have
weapon on him.
the gall to kill himself at the school
Right.
when he had the chance.
Wasn't as easy as
He wanted someone else to kill him. So
Right.
when the police officer returned to the interrogation room, Kip charged him with the knife that he had gotten out from his leg, and basically was screaming, "Shoot me, kill me." The police officer maced him, sat him down, and started grilling him. And well, I don't even know if you needed to grill this kid. He basically was distraught.
Yeah, he came across with everything.
You heard we played it during our interlude leading into this episode. We played some of his confession. It's chilling.
Yeah.
It's him just spilling everything that was going on in his head. He feels very terrible for what he's basically saying. His parents were good people,
Yep.
and damn these voices in my head. And I don't know, man. The whole thing, it's just, how do you feel about this case in general? Because you want to demonize, obviously the natural inclination is to demonize a kid that goes to school and shoots a bunch of innocent other kids.
Right.
And sometimes they deserve that. There are some shooters that just did it for the glory and just did it.
Yep.
Maybe,
No, I agree.
maybe one kid bullied them and they wanted everyone to pay. One of the ones we talked about that was leading up to this shooting, one of the other school shootings, the kid was like that, where it was like,
Right.
I wanted them to feel my pain because I was bullied and this and that. And those kids, I don't take a whole lot into. But when you're talking about mental health, like Kip, I think there were so many signs leading up to it. He really did.
There was. It's
sick,
hard to
man.
just blame him
And
solely
when you see
or
him-
anybody.
And when you see him distraught afterwards, crying like, "Why did I do this? My parents were good people," and it's nobody won in this story, man. This is a bad story just on all ends.
Right.
I feel bad for Kip. I feel bad for all the victims. I feel bad for his parents. I feel bad for the 2 kids he killed in school. I feel bad for the kids
Right.
that experienced that day in the cafeteria, whether they got shot or not.
Right.
They're gonna have to live with that. They saw their friends getting shot, and
It's so hard for people who have never experienced these kind of disorders or anything to understand too.
Yeah.
Like if you look at on forums and websites and stuff where they're talking about this case, people are grilling him, man.
yeah,
Just like, oh, fuck him, let him rot in jail. I'm glad he didn't get to death because I hope he dies of old age and rots and stuff. I'm like, this kid was 15 years old.
he was a kid.
He was a kid, and you don't remember how hard it was to be 15
Yeah,
with your quote unquote normal functioning mind.
right.
Imagine having something, depression or acute schizophrenia or whatever he may have. He had dyslexia. I mean,
Yeah, and
This
we're not
kid-
excusing his behavior.
No,
By no
but-
means
no.
should you ever lash out in violence because you were having a hard time in life. Don't take that
Right.
out on other people. We're not excusing it, but I'm just saying I'm not angry at him. It's more just I just feel sad by the whole situation in general. It's just like an unfortunate thing
Yeah.
that happens. Sometimes people that are sick in the head do bad things to other people and to themselves, and just
right. And I'm not
nobody, like we said, nobody wins. I wish that his parents would have not allowed him to come off his medication. I wish they would have tried keeping him on it for longer. And I don't know. I really feel that was the biggest fuck up that his parents did, was allowing him to come off.
because that's really the only bright area of the story is those 3 months he was on that medication.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it seems like the only real time of somewhat joy and peace that family had.
Yeah. And another thing that made me kind of like not have hatreds towards him is that he took responsibility for his actions as well. He didn't try and justify. He said it was all on him. He said I fucked up in the head, was with these voices. I wish I wouldn't have done this. And his defense was planning on, they were building up an insanity case, and it was all there. I mean, you see it clearly. You've got the psychologist records. You've got the fact that he was on medication and came off the medication. He could have easily, in my opinion, won a insanity case.
I think at this point he thought that if he accepted responsibility and said that he was sane and that he did all this, that he would get the death penalty, not knowing the law at this time, protected minors from the death penalty. I mean, it still does.
Yeah, and so basically what we're saying is on September 24th, 1990, 3 days before the jury selection was set to begin, Kinkle pleaded guilty to murder and attempted murder, foregoing the possibility of being acquitted by reason of insanity. And 2 months later, in November of 1999, Kinkle was sentenced to 111 years in prison without the possibility of parole. And a quote from his a statement to his victims present at the sentence hearing. This is his quote. He said, "I've spent days trying to figure out what I want to say. I have crumpled up dozens of pieces of paper and disregarded even more ideas. I have thought about what I could say that might make people feel just a little bit better, but I have come to the realization that it really doesn't matter what I say, because there is nothing I can do to take away any of the pain and destruction I have caused. I absolutely love my parents, and I had no reason to kill them. I had no reason to dislike, kill, or try to kill anyone at Thurston. I'm truly sorry that this happened. I've gone back in my mind hundreds of times and changed one detail, one small event so that this would have never happened. I wish I could. I take full responsibility for my actions. These events have pulled me down into a state of deterioration and self-loathing that I didn't know existed. I'm very sorry for everything that I've done and for what I have become."
It's harsh, dude. It's kind of. I don't even want to say.
This is probably our most depressing episode, and I'm sorry
super depressing because that's.
But it's a serious topic. We're this is one of those ones where we couldn't really be as goofy because people do suffer with this, and we don't want to make light of this. And it's, I don't know, man.
But it's almost like this situation healed him in a way. It's like all this.
Now he really feels.
It's like he realizes, okay,
this shit is real. Like killing someone doesn't feel.
This is real. This did not make me feel better. I caused someone pain for no reason.
Like we talked about with him taking things for granted, like living in a beautiful house in the woods for granted. He took his great parents for granted, and now he realized how good of parents they were after he killed them.
Yeah, and even his friends at school, the children at school. I mean, like everything. He realized that it wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. I kind of got enclosed, and got caught up in this bubble of
and he would later go on to get his GED in prison. And he would end up changing his whole mind on not pleading insanity. In 2007, Kinkle sought a new trial. He said that his previous attorney should have taken the case to trial and used the insanity defense. Judge denied him a new trial. I mean, because it was his choice in the first place to not plead insanity.
Exactly.
And then on January 12th, 2011, the Oregon Court of Appeals affirmed the trial court judgment denying his motion on a new trial. So after they denied him the previous trial, he sought a denial of that trial, and they just keep denying him.
Right.
Kinkle is appealing his sentence on both federal and state courts. In federal courts, he claims that the plea should not have been accepted without prior mental health evaluation. In state court, Kinkle is challenging the validity of the virtual life sentence he was given, citing Miller versus Alabama. So they gave him 111 years. And like you were saying, they weren't allowed to give they weren't allowed to give life in prison to a minor.
Right. Miller versus Alabama basically was a United States Supreme Court case in which the court held mandatory sentences of life without the possibility of parole are unconstitutional for juvenile offenders.
So they didn't give him they didn't call it life.
Right.
But they gave him 111 years. And how many people do you know when he was 15 at the time that would make him 126 by the time he would get released?
That's all in the phrasing.
I don't know anyone that's ever lived to 126. So that's basically life in prison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So they found a little loophole that he's trying to
This is crazy when
out.
We talked about that other case of those middle schoolers that served, 7 years?
Yeah.
And the one kid was only 2 years younger than Kinkle. He was 13.
Right.
Kinkle's only 15 when this
happened.
happened.
And they got out by the time they're 21.
Got out by the time 21, and Kinkle's serving 111 years.
Right.
I don't know. I guess it depends on your state, man. It depends on your lawyer, and it just doesn't sound like justice, man. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he deserves a punishment, a bad one, but
20 years minimum. And really keep a close eye on his mental state.
Oh yeah, definitely. He needs to get the help that he needed in the first place.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Right.
Consistent help.
I don't know. It's like we said, this is a depressing episode. We're sorry we bring you down because usually you tune in to hear some interesting murder cases and some jokes throughout, and there really wasn't many jokes here. It was much more serious, but like we said, it's a serious topic. Many people in today's society deal with depression, and we couldn't really joke about it a whole lot and feel good about ourselves afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
It's dark. The whole
Sorry,
thing's
guys.
bad. We'll try and pick a more fun murder episode next week. Do I dare say that?
Maybe we'll pick an older one. 'Cause
Yeah,
like
the
the
more
older they are,
detachment.
the older they are, it's like,
Yeah, the Titanic. We can joke about it now.
It's not
or
too
something.
soon, right?
Man, I feel depressed after this one. Maybe I'm gonna go. No, I'm not gonna. I was gonna say I'm gonna go take Prozac, but that's kind of a.
No, I'm just gonna go outside.
Yeah, get some vitamin
Yeah,
D.
That's right. Get some.
Maybe that's what he
sunshine.
needed. He lived up in Oregon in the woods and he never got any sun.
Rained too much up there.
He was
Maybe.
pretty pasty.
Was
He-
Pasty.
He just needed some vitamin D, bro.
Poor guy.
Vitamin D saves lives.
Yeah.
I know this. I'm pasty as shit too. Do we got any last words on this case? Pretty
No.
crazy, man.
Yeah. Let's
Thank
just go ahead and
thank
wrap
you
this
for
up.
the show suggestion, and we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Check out our website, truecrimeguys.com. Like we
Yeah.
said, we got stickers on there, and we now have a store. There's a link in the
Right.
episode description. You can get some true crime creeper gear.
Oh yeah.
Be creeping.
Keep creeping.
Keep creeping. Yeah, and that's how we're gonna end this show. We'll see you next
All right.
week. Thanks for tuning in. Keep creeping.
See you guys.